The all-important summer break is nearly upon us. The seasonal marker, which is often laid down in regards to finalizing driver lineups and teams positioning themselves for a second half push, is fast approaching, and there is certainly a lot of moving parts to pay attention to at the moment. It seems the driver market has reached somewhat of a bottleneck, as only a quarter of the grid's available seats remain unsecured for the 2025 season, and fewer still are truly up for grabs. And it seems that a single driver deal will cause the remaining seats to disappear quicker than you can say Flavio Briatore is a criminal and a cheat who shouldn't have returned to the sport. All the while, it seems that some drivers are having regrets about their decisions to put pen to paper so early in the silly season. But is that just a question of a gamble paying off over time? Or have some drivers truly made a mistake in acting so rashly? There is still plenty of twists and turns to come this year, but make no mistake, the summer break has always been the talisman of action in the driver market. Want to know what the holdup in the driver market is? It was actually quite avoidable, but a driver's indecision has rendered the remaining teams in a standoff. And stick around, because there's a certain Aussie that is starting to get itchy feet, and it seems he may finally be getting what he wants. So let's start off by discussing the seats most affected by this bottleneck. Before the start of the season, it wasn't necessarily thought, or more likely cared about, that Alpine would take anything but their driver lineup of Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon through into the 2025 season and beyond. Now, however, the all-French everything dream that Alpine once had seems to have completely crumbled in a way that could have been predicted upon the announcement of Gasly joining the team in the first place. If you had said to us back in 2022 that the driver lineup would be broken up following an Ocon-initiated teammate collision, then we would have likely replied with, yeah, and the sky is blue. At the start of 2024, however, having seen a steady and uneventful first year for the French duo, it seemed that Alpine had managed to actually do something right for once and successfully dodged a bullet. However, that wasn't to last. Ocon has been dropped, with his contract running up until the end of the year, and Alpine is still yet to announce Gasly's continuation with the team. But within the first month of his return to the team, Flavio Briatore has already started to leak information in regards to the driver lineup, saying, "The driver lineup is not the priority now. The most important thing is to make the car competitive. Otherwise, no driver can make a difference. I do have a short list of names to evaluate, but we have Gasly in the short term anyway. We will quietly see who will be his teammate. We are following many young drivers. I'm not going to say who, but they are very good. First, we have to make the car faster and easier, and then we'll think about drivers." So Gasly will be staying on, which isn't necessarily a surprise, but the insinuation that Alpine will be going for youth over experience certainly paints an interesting prospect and potentially denies the option of one rumoured prospect off the bat. And the fact that they are so willing to sit back and take their time means they are likely promoting from within. Currently, Mick Schumacher, who has been impressing the Alpine higher-ups in the World Endurance Championship program, is set to do a testing session at the Circuit Paul Ricard in early July, just days following the final race in the triple header at Silverstone. Having been denied the opportunity to show his full potential at Le Mans due to Alpine's technical shortcomings, Schumacher will be hoping to prove that he is the right man to replace Ocon and provide a soothing young presence to the team alongside the experienced Gasly. Not only that, but the backing that comes with his name is unignorable, if not slightly unenviable due to the pressure that also comes with it. The first thing that Schumacher needs to do is prove that he is faster than the other young hopeful at the test, current reserve driver Jack Doohan. The Aussie departed F2 to take on a full-time role as Alpine's reserve driver, so knows an awful lot about the inner workings of the team. However, Schumacher's F2 title and name immediately gives him the advantage. It's fair to say if Doohan wants to beat Schumacher to the seat, he will have to do some pretty convincing talking on the only level playing field that they have, and that is on the asphalt. The next major frontier, and one of the major factors in the driver market gridlock, is at Williams, where Alex Albon's future teammate still remains a mystery. It seems that the time is up for Logan Sargeant, with the team publicly expressing interest in other drivers, which is somewhat of a shame. Sargeant is a reasonable enough driver who is currently suffering from both the ambitions of the team, as well as being towards the back of the field in a season where a tenth of a second means the difference between a Q1 exit or a Q2 success story. Another issue for Sargeant is the quality that still remains available for next year, with one driver of particular interest, Carlos Sainz, seemingly being torn between the life at historic Williams or the long-rumoured move to Audi. Having not secured a top-half seat following the announcement of his immediate departure from Ferrari, Sainz must now get out his crystal ball and try to ascertain ascertain just who will be the best option for the new regulations. After all, Sainz has consistently discussed this upcoming move as the most important of his career, as it will be where he spends his prime years in the sport, so making the correct decision is something that is taking him and his team some considerable time. This is the thing that is currently causing the aforementioned bottleneck, with Sainz's indecision as to where he will spend his future dragging on for many months now. The Spaniard has been linked with pretty much everyone and their mother at this point, but it seems to have been whittled down to just two options, if the earlier quote from two-time tax evasion convict Flavio Briatore is to be believed. Nobody is going near that Mercedes seat, Alpine are considering a young promotee from within their organisation, and Haas has never taken too much of an interest in the soon-to-be ex-Ferrari man, likely due to them not being able to afford his services. Sainz will have to make the decision sooner rather than later, however, especially now that neither team will be entirely reliant on his experience, with them both having seasoned drivers of their own. Audi and Williams may be able to both take risks with their second drivers, with Audi still having the option to retain either of their current drivers alongside Nico Hülkenberg, and although that would be a pretty uninspired start to life in the sport, it would mean keeping either a 10-time race winner with an increasingly lovable presence on the grid, or the current conduit of China's Formula One presence. This, as well as the other options available to both Audi and Williams, means that Carlos Sainz's indecision could render him seatless if he doesn't make his mind up soon, as he is currently risking both teams feeling as if they're being taken for a ride. However, we doubt that he will be bowing out of the sport come the end of the season. If he does, then it will be entirely a result of his own lack of haste in securing a seat during the silliest of silly seasons. All of this is ignoring the fact that Liam Lawson may well be available if he is denied his shot in Formula One, as he should have realistically been on the grid this season following last year's Super Sub heroics, giving teams even further reason to hold fire. However, Helmut Marko made it clear that he still intends to stand by his word, with it seemingly being factors other than him or the shareholders currently protecting Ricciardo's position in the sister team, which I am sure you can hazard a guess as to what those are. When talking to Austrian newspaper Kleine Zeitung in the run-up to the Austrian Grand Prix, Marko had this to say: "The shareholders have made it known that it is a junior team and we have to act accordingly. The goal with Daniel was that he would be considered for Red Bull Racing with exceptional performances. That seat now belongs to Sergio Perez, so that plan is no longer valid. We have to put a young driver in there soon. That would be Liam Lawson." So according to Marko, as brutal as it may be, there is no point keeping Ricciardo around if Perez has been retained on a long-term basis, which he has. Liam Lawson has been kept entirely separate from the silly season based off the promises that Helmut Marko gave him last year following his strong showings as Ricciardo's replacement following his Zandvoort crash. And as long as Red Bull keep their word that kept him waiting on the sidelines this year, then a sudden Piastri-esque departure will be out of the question. If it seems that Lawson is not going to be given a drive in the Red Bull family, however, he has made it perfectly clear that he will look elsewhere to finally be given his much-deserved slot on the grid. So Carlos Sainz currently bottlenecks the remaining slots on the grid, with young drivers, internal options, and experienced veterans all trying to eye up their best opportunities to make a big return, secure their first seat, or progress in their career in the best way possible. One thing's for sure, if it becomes clear that Liam Lawson is on the move, then Sainz may well regret his hesitancy. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Could there be any shock moves that no one sees coming? We'd be interested to hear your opinion. Thank you for watching.